Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack some really profound insights from Anand Vemula's Tech Horizon channel and his book, EU AI Act Explained. Today we're going to see exactly why responsible governance is now, honestly, just as critical as the technological innovation itself for business and AI leaders. Look, if your enterprise is deploying artificial intelligence in any capacity, this is the regulatory blueprint you absolutely need to understand.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We're breaking the EU AI Act down into 6 vital chapters for your enterprise strategy, starting with the new AI reality, moving into the risk-based approach, high-risk systems and rules, data governance and oversight, the competitive advantage, and finally, global AI governance.
Let's jump right in with Section 1, the new AI reality. So right off the bat, we run into this massive question. How can organizations actually balance incredibly powerful AI innovation with responsible governance? This is the exact challenge Anand Vemula poses to every single technology leader deploying AI systems today. Because, as AI becomes exponentially more capable, scaling from those simple predictive models we used to see all the way to these massive generative systems woven into our daily workflows, the era of just unchecked innovation is over. The stakes are simply way too high now. Responsible governance isn't just some afterthought or a box to check anymore, it's stepping into the spotlight right alongside the tech itself.
Which brings us to Section 2, the risk-based approach.
To answer that question of balance, we have to look at the very core of Europe's new legislation, and it represents a major structural shift in how we govern enterprise tech. They call it a risk-based regulation framework. Basically, this is a massive departure from a one-size-fits-all approach. It means the legislation doesn't just throw a blanket over all algorithms and regulate them exactly the same way. Instead, it categorizes and regulates AI systems based on the specific level of risk they pose to end users and society. Think about it like this. An algorithm suggesting what movie you should binge watch next, that poses almost zero risk. But an algorithm deciding who gets approved for a mortgage, or a system analyzing medical scans to diagnose a patient, those carry massive, life-altering implications. So this act fundamentally shifts the regulatory focus away from just the raw capability of the machines and puts it directly onto the context, the application, and the real-world impact on users.
Moving right along to Section 3, high-risk systems and rules. So how does this risk-based foundation actually translate into actionable rules for your dev team? The crucial point here is that developers and organizations have to actively navigate these specific restrictions. If your system falls into that high-risk bucket, you are going to face a very stringent set of rules. And what exactly makes something high risk? We're talking about AI used in critical infrastructure, educational sorting, employment and hiring algorithms, or essential public services. If your company is deploying a tool that scans resumes to decide who gets an interview, under this act, that's highly likely classified as high risk. You'll face rigorous testing requirements, mandatory documentation, strict restrictions on certain practices, and in some unacceptable cases, complete prohibitions. And the why here is simple. The legislation is mandating the protection of fundamental rights. It's enforcing privacy and non-discrimination right at the architectural level. You absolutely have to know where your AI applications sit on this spectrum to survive in this new era.
Now, let's look at the internal operations in Section 4, data governance and oversight.
Knowing the rules is really only half the battle, right? Next, we need to look at the day-to-day operations required to actually stay compliant. Vemula's roadmap gives us 2 completely non-negotiable steps. First, establish strict data governance. Second, implement mandatory human oversight. Businesses can simply automate a complex process and just walk away to grab a coffee. But what does human oversight practically mean for a massive enterprise? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean some poor guy has to manually click approve on every single microtransaction in AI processes, but it does mean you need established, audited mechanisms where human operators fully understand the system's capabilities. They need the training and, more importantly, the authority to intervene, override, or literally pull the plug if the AI starts generating anomalous or biased outputs. A human must always be in the loop to ensure the technology behaves exactly as intended, using data that is clean, traceable, and legally compliant.
This brings us to Section 5, the competitive advantage.
I know, at first glance, everything we just talked about might look like this heavy, exhausting compliance burden. But let's shift our perspective for a second to see the hidden opportunity here. Here's a really powerful reframe. Responsible AI can actually become a competitive advantage. Vemula points out that organizations shouldn't just drag their feet trying to meet the bare minimum of these rules. The companies that proactively embrace these compliance standards, they're actually going to build much deeper trust and pull way ahead of their competitors.
Think about it. We're in an era where consumers and businesses are incredibly skeptical of these black box algorithms. Transparency is what builds absolute trust. If you can definitively prove to your clients that your AI systems are audited, governed, and compliant with the global gold standard of regulation, man, that becomes a massive differentiator. It boosts investor confidence, makes market entry easier, and positions your brand as a reliable, forward-thinking leader.
And finally, let's zoom out a bit for Section 6, Global AI Governance.
You might be sitting there thinking, hey, my business operates entirely outside the EU. Why does this matter to me? Well, European AI regulation is setting a powerful global precedent. In policy circles, they call this the Brussels effect. We actually saw this happen a few years ago with data privacy and the GDPR. Europe set a super high, stringent bar for privacy, and instead of building two completely different operational systems for different regions, massive multinational corporations just said, okay, let's make the European standard our new global baseline. The EU AI Act is poised to do the exact same thing for artificial intelligence, which means international business leaders everywhere need to prepare for a worldwide ripple effect in AI policy. The very standards for what constitutes responsible AI are literally being drawn up right now on an international scale.
As we wrap up this explainer, we're really looking at a stark duality. On one side of the scale, we have incredible innovation and machine capability. On the other side, vital organizational responsibility and governance. It's like a tightrope walk. We have to constantly balance the raw, unchecked potential of what these machines can do against the weighty responsibility placed on the organizations deploying them. True leadership in tech today, it requires mastering both sides of that equation.
I want to leave you with this provocative final thought, straight from Anand Vemula's book. He writes, "The future of AI will not be defined only by what machines can do. It will also be defined by how responsibly organizations choose to use them." It's a brilliant challenge to everyone watching this. So as you look at your own enterprise tech and your digital transformation goals, what legacy of responsible AI is your organization going to choose to build?